Be prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Good morning, it's DTM time. Qualifying coming up for the 16th round of what's been an utterly fascinating 2017 championship season so far. 3 qualifying sessions to go, 3 races to go, and we're here in the most beautiful, picturesque circuit on the calendar in many people's opinions, and it is the Red Bull Ring. It's Spielberg, and we're in Austria for the second qualifying session of the day. Chris Hartley and Leo Gorman in the commentary box here, overlooking the garages with a big crowd, as you can see, gathered in the grandstands, which is just beneath our commentary position here, overlooking the start-finish line. It's always a popular event, this, and as we get to the crunch point in the championship battle, it is going to be a fascinating session, this. It was dominated yesterday in terms of qualifying by Audi, and in the race as well. Top 3 positions in yesterday's qualifying going to Audi drivers. Jamie Green on pole position for the first time this season. Nico Müller and championship leader Matthias Ekström were 2nd and 3rd in qualifying yesterday. And then in the race itself, it was won, first victory of the season, by Matthias Ekström to extend his overall championship lead to 28 points now. Jamie Green had led much of the race, but towards the end of the race, Matthias Ekström came through relatively easily. Jamie Green has, though, moved up to 2nd in the standings. 162 points for Eki, 134 now for Jamie Green. Lucas Auer had a difficult qualifying session, but was able to come through and pick up some points in the race to finish in 8th place. So he's 3rd in the standings now on 131, just a few behind Jamie Green. Marco Wittmann, Rennie Rast and Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the top 6. Mathematically, the top 10 could still win the championship, but it is looking very strong now for Matthias Ekström, if he can have another good day here. And he started the day very well indeed by being the quickest driver in the free practice session by just 42 thousandths of a second. Audi's 1st, 2nd and 3rd again. Ekström, Rockenfeller and Green this time. Gary Paffett, though, with a good session, 4th quickest in the Mercedes, ahead of Nico Müller, who had an excellent drive yesterday to finish on the podium. He couldn't really get involved in the race battle because he got 2 key championship contenders and brand mates around him, but Nico having an excellent run yesterday to pick up that podium finish. So there is Jamie Green, who said to a reporter at the end of the race on the podium yesterday, Verena Vries, that as well as being a racing driver who wants to win races, he's also a team player. And it was Matthias Ekström, his brand mate, who was able to come past him to gain, as I say, what's his first victory of the season. Well, let's see how it goes in qualifying. The news for the weekend, announced recently, is that performance weights and success ballast has now been removed from the championship with immediate effect. All 3 manufacturers, Mercedes, BMW and Audi, have agreed to it. And so it's a very level playing field for everybody, but it's Audi who seem to have the strongest car here so far this weekend. There is Matthias Ekström then, 10 years since he last won the championship, which was his 2nd title. He won in 04, he won in 07. Can he get a hat-trick of championship titles? It looks very likely that it's going to go down to the wire at Hockenheim. The car's queuing up. And one thing we know for sure, Leo Gorman, is that this session is going to be mighty close because it's a circuit where thousandths of a second can make a difference, and that is what happened in qualifying yesterday. It was just 21 thousandths of a second between the top 2 and 81 thousandths of a second between the top 4 in qualifying yesterday.
This is a very it's not a short circuit as such. It's just over 2.7 miles long, but because it only has 9 corners, Chris, it's not like some circuits on the calendar where you get 14, 15 corners. You're not actually, you don't really have a huge number of corners to scrub off the speed. So we have a long run down to turn 1 from the last corner. Then you got a long straight run down to turn 2. Then you got a long run down to turn 3, and then you go through a kind of medium speed section. So you got 3 hard braking corners and then a medium speed section, which they to travail at quite a reasonable speed. So the pace here is actually quite high. So the race can tick over very, very, very quickly. And it does mean that because there's fewer areas to lose pace as such, that does bring the qualifying times very, very, very close together.
And this is the view from the top of the circuit. It's a steep climb. I've done it myself. I did it when I came here for the first time in 2014. Walked around the track on a very, very hot day that year when we were here earlier in the summer. So it's a steep climb. It's a steep walk up the mountainside towards turn 2 at Remus, where you look down then back to and towards the pit lane and the garages and the paddock. Moment on the grass there. Lucas Auer reporting back to the team.
And Auer's complaining to race control. That's effectively, okay, Auer is contacting the pit radio, but what he's effectively doing is lodging a complaint with race control, saying that, you know, Bruno Spengler pushed me onto the grass there. It's just the qualifying section. He's blocking me on the outlap. You know, whether race control take any kind of any heed of that complaint, we will only see later on if there's an investigation. But that's Auer clearly frustrated with what Spengler's doing on his outlap.
And Auer, of course, in his home country, the Austrian driver knows he needs a good qualifying session here. He has had more poles than anybody else this year. He was been on pole 3 times, once at Hockenheim, once at the Lausitzring, once at the Nürburgring. He's never been on pole on a Sunday so far this year, and his average grid is pretty good, 8th place. But there have been recently a few poor qualifying sessions. He was 14th and 13th on the grid in Moscow 3 rounds ago, 16th and 11th on the grid in Zandvoort in Holland 2 rounds ago. Last time out at the Nürburgring was better. He got a pole there, but yesterday he was again only in 12th place. So it's been a bit hit and miss in terms of his qualifying and his grid positions. Under investigation for exceeding the pit lane speed limit is Robert Wickens, who had a very good drive yesterday after some contact with early on in the race. The Mercedes was carrying damage, bodywork for much of the race, but he kept 3/4 of the field behind him, Robert, to finish as the top Mercedes, in fact the top non-Audi, in 4th place overall.
It turned out it wasn't actually his bodywork, because we found out later on, we theorised during the race it was actually part of Rennie Rast's car that was lodged in the side of his car, and it actually was a part of Rennie Rast's car that was lodged into the side of Wickens' car. So
didn't help the aero much, did it? But he didn't. He did a good job, didn't he, to fend everybody off?
Very, very good job, and held enough pace and held on to the tyres while Marco Wittmann.
5 seconds gap behind you. 5.5 seconds gap behind you.
And that's our good. That's Auer getting a message to say that he has a 5 seconds gap behind him, so if he needs to drop back to make room in front, and he is actually just behind one of the BMWs,
Spengler,
still Spengler. If he has 5.5 seconds behind him to drop back if he needs to get some room out front. Right now he's just kind of sitting behind Spengler. It's not that big of a deal at this stage in the qualifying sessions. As we mentioned yesterday, this first 10 minutes or so, the driver's going to be setting banker laps, making sure they get times on the table. But also, this is about getting the feel of the tyres. It's about getting the feel of the balance of the car. And then just around the halfway point in the session, you will see the drivers pull into the pits. They'll have a debrief with their engineers. They'll have little notes that they could talk about on the radio now. But it's when you're actually sitting in the garage and you're able to give more detailed information to the engineers. Maybe you could change tyre pressures or change a roll bar, something along those lines, to actually improve your feel, improve your balance when you go out for your real.
That's the team again, talking to Lucas Auer to get him to create a gap. Now, Spengler is under investigation for that incident with Auer. We saw reported by Auer, have been put on the grass on the outlap. So they are looking at it. They have taken heed. The pole time yesterday set by Jamie Green, 1:21.973. That was much quicker than last year's pole times set by Marco Wittmann in the BMW and Jamie Green in the Audi were on pole in 2016 in the mid 1:27s. It's being reported to the stewards, that incident now between Spengler and Auer, which Lucas was most disgruntled about. So very quick pole time yesterday. Car's been upgraded slightly this year and a bit more horsepower to them, over 500 brake horsepower for these cars and a 1:21.9. So at the moment Rocky's quickest, but a 1:25.2 is not going to be anywhere near sort of rocket pace. And we saw this yesterday. It's a circuit which it seems to take a few laps for the tyres to really get up to temperature, but the tyres hold on as well, don't they? We still saw at the end of the race yesterday, after 55 minutes of racing, admittedly because they've taken a mandatory pit stop, there were a lot of drivers that had run a lot of laps with early pit stops, and the times were still good at the end of the race.
Yeah, I think it was only towards the only tyre issues we saw. Paffett had a little bit of some tyre issues because he pitted on the first lap, and he was running nearly 50 minutes on those tyres, so he was getting a little bit of drop off towards the end. And then the drivers who ran a long first stint was Engel, Duval, and Spengler, held very good pace for quite a long time, but then towards the end of their stint, they dropped off quite a bit. As we see, Marco Wittmann with 2 bests overall.
It's going to be the first proper lap this, isn't it? We're down into the 122s. Can we get a 121? Not yet, but it's a low 122. 122.354 for the defending champion. Rennie Rast had a bad day at the office yesterday and slipped down the championship table. He was 3rd at the start of the weekend. He's down to 5th place now. A couple of bits of contact yesterday. Came back through the order, but not into the points. 13th place yesterday. He goes quickest. 10th quicker. 1:22.237. So it's Rast from Wittmann. It's an Audi from BMW. Rockenfeller in 3rd place in the Audi. Augusto Farfus is next in 4th. Timo Glock is in 5th place. Paffett is the best of the Mercedes, currently in 6th place. Spengler, Blomqvist, Di Resta and Auer next up. So Auer in 10th place currently, and out of the top 10 now as Eki comes into the top 10 into 8th place for the first time.
And noticeable as well, Chris, we will see quicker lap times today. The conditions are better, it's a little bit warmer. Yesterday morning when we had quali 1, it was actually quite a bit cooler enough that the tyres did take that bit longer to come up with temperature. And this is something that could actually affect the race later on today, because it could mean shorter tyre stints as well later on if you're if the tyre temperatures go up significantly and they're not able to maybe hold on to the tyres for the full length of the race. I see Wickens has just come across the line to set the what is now the 8th best time. It was a
personal best, wasn't it? That is his best lap so far. Here's yesterday's podium finisher, Nico Muller. Don't forget championship points as well in qualifying these days. 3 for pole, 2 for second, 1 for 3rd place.
He's a personal best in Sector 1. He's actually the fastest through the speed trap in Sector 1 with 245 kilometers per hour. I think
team radio for Lucas out there, but not quite coming through properly there. Rennie Rast has picked up 13 points for qualifying this year. That's the equivalent of another 4th place finish, greater than you get for a 4th place finish. So it does make a difference. The team talking to Timo Glock, reminding him about warming up the tyres correctly, which is a real... Paffett was talking to me about this a few rounds ago. Really important how you warm the tyres up, and patient in doing so, and not to damage them while they're getting up to temperature. Otherwise, you won't get the best out of them when you do go for a lap later on in the session.
Well, we're going to start seeing drivers pull into the pits now at the end of this run, as we see Glock's already, Farfus is already in, Rocky's already in, Engler's in. This is the moment where they're going to sit in their garage, they're going to chat to the engineers, deliver the information, and then the small little changes. And we are talking small changes, as I said, maybe a change in the roll bar, brake bias, or tyre pressures, because there's not an awful lot of time left. There's less than 11 minutes left in this session. They can do those quick changes, send them out for maybe 4 or 5 quick laps. Because the laps are so quick here, 1:22, and probably getting into 1:21s, you do have enough time to set 4 or 5 fast laps, but the changeover's got to be quick.
It is going to be very quick indeed, and you've got to make sure that you allow enough time to get your last lap in at temperature. within the session, and yesterday we saw Matthias Ekstrom went back out, but he never quite had enough time to get the tyres up and have that one flying lap at the end. So he didn't improve yesterday, even though he was one of the last to cross the line. Nico Müller might be about to improve here. The middle sector, which is the longest sector on the lap, was very good. 2/10 away, though he stays fourth quickest.
He was actually slower than his best so far, so but still relatively close. He's been sitting in the 1:22.3, so he's hit that kind of that roundabout time on a couple of occasions now, but fourth overall behind Wittmann.
Struggling with the brakes a bit, Rast, but 122.152. René has been the best average qualifier this year. That doesn't bode well for everybody else. René Rast is fastest, and he reckons he made a mistake at turn 9 and ran wide. I can improve.
But here, the flicks and everything looks fine, so not that worse.
But I mean, to be fair to Rast, yes, he did make that mistake coming through turn 9, but we're going to see the times come down significantly on this second run. So I don't think everyone has set a benchmark lap, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to be. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers beat that 122.1.
Yeah, we're a couple of tenths away from where we were, so you can see the positions on your screen.
3/10 in the last sector, so focus on your last sector.
That last sector is only about 24 seconds long. 3/10 is a lot of time for Lucas Auer to be losing. He's down in 15th place at the moment. You can see the times on your positions on your screen. In terms of times, there's nothing between the top two. 122.152 for René Rast. He's only 14 thousandths quicker than Jamie Green. So they're in the 122.1s. The next four drivers, Wittmann, Müller, Paffett and Rockenfeller, are in the 122.3s. And then the next one, most of the rest of the drivers are in the 122.4s and 5s. So the gap, for example, from Maxime Martin in 7th place to pole is about 3/10 of a second.
Our losing 3/10 in the last sector is actually quite significant, because that last sector is effectively the two of the most important corners, those penultimate corners, because they're actually very fast corners and you need to be able to carry speed. And if Auer's having any issues with the balance, then he's not going to be able to carry speed. It means he's not going to be able to get the throttle down as quickly. He's probably having to lift off a little bit more or even brake through those corners. And you need to be able to keep the throttle down as much as possible through those last two corners, because that also provides you with the pace coming down to start finish straight as well. So if you're losing out in those final two corners, that's a big deficiency.
Yeah, because you've so Eki being told, copy, he says turn 1, turn 4, that's where you can improve. The exit to turn 4 and through turn 1 is where you can improve. And as Lee says, it's an uphill run as well into turn 1, so the exit to the final turn, the Red Bull Mobile, is absolutely critical. It's a downhill run, really, for most of that last sector, particularly down through the last two corners, as you come through the double right at Rint and then through the Red Bull Mobile. There you can see the undulation and the climb up towards turn 1, which is where this camera is looking from. And of course, the balance of the car is critical. Balance of the car is critical because it's a downhill run through the turns, so all the weight is over the front wheels and the back end of the car goes very light, so it can become very easy to understeer through the turn. If you understeer, you're turning the wheel and it runs wide because you have to momentarily get off the throttle, and that kills your speed going up to turn 1.
Ideally as well, you would need a pointy car coming into turn 1 and turn 2 as well, because you need something that's going to hit the apex absolutely spot on, so you can get your foot back on the throttle. But ideally, you don't want to take too much apex, because if you hit the curb too hard, it destabilizes you once again. You can't actually get on the throttle quick enough. So it's a very tight balance to actually getting those two corners right.
Yesterday in the session, you pointed out that we had the whole field covered by less than a second. It was 0.932 of a second. At the moment, the gap from 1st to 18th is even less. It's just over 0.8 of a second covering the entire field here.
Yeah, 0.835, so it's a very narrow gap. And what we saw yesterday as well is a message to Lucas Auer. They're going to have 2 build-up laps. And then go for 3 fast ones. And this is what we're going to see today, I think. We're going to see a couple of build-up laps as they bring the car right up to temperature. Then you have 3 opportunities, bam, 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 try and get those laps in before the flag comes down.
And now it needs this, doesn't he? Down in 15th place at the moment. The final stint, the final sector where he's been losing all the time, the team says. So he's taken that information out, he'll compute it, and he'll then try to put this into practice. But he's got to also make sure he has track position and doesn't get held up anywhere along the way. So the BWT branded Mercedes of Lucas Auer. Audi leading the manufacturer standings from Mercedes, BMW third.
And I think Auer probably needs to drop back a small bit as well. He's got Paul di Resta about 2 to 3 seconds up the road from him. That's going to be enough to maybe to stabilise the front end just slightly. So he's got a bit of a about 4-second gap behind him to Duval. So if Auer drops maybe a further second back from di Resta, he can have a much clearer run on these qualifying laps. And it's all about, this is a short track, as we said, it's only about 2.7 miles. The 20 for 18 cars on the track, you get destabilised quite quickly if you're too close to the car in front.
Right, 4.3 kilometres, the lap distance, 4.318 to be precise, as we continue to focus on Lucas Auer starting to build up the pace now over the next couple of laps. But you can see in this short 20-minute sessions we have, you have to be on the money. You're only going to get one crack at this. There's only 4 minutes left on the clock already. René Rast lighting up sector times as it stands. They're all back out there. Rast with this tiny advantage over Jamie Green, an even smaller gap than we had yesterday. René Rast for Audi's team Rosberg is called teammates to Jamie Green, so not only is it two Audis on the front row at the moment, it's the two Team Rosberg teammates. René Rast in his first full season at DTM has twice been on pole this year. Both times were at the Hungaro Ring in Budapest in Hungary. But he's also been in the top three several other times. And as I said, he's the driver that's scored the most points so far this year, 13 of them through qualifying performances. With Marco Wittmann is the next best. He scored 11 points and has averaged 7th on the grid. René averaging 5th on the grid so far this year. More BMW trouble for Lucas Auer. And look at this for a shot. That is beautiful, isn't it? And look at the sparks flying. Brutal curves here. So looking at the screen, I think it's Marco Wittmann that he's complaining about. That's the BMW that looks like he's in front, doesn't it? Looking at the screen. I
think he's actually just passed Tom Blomqvist, and when he actually moved, he moved to take Blomqvist on that last lap, because he's actually got past di Resta as well. So I think it was Blomqvist that was blocking him, but now he's passed. But also, now that he's passed Tom, he's actually just under the rear wing of Wittmann now as well. So he's not been able, Auer's not been able to utilise the space properly, as we see Mike Rockefeller on a quick lap. Personal best through sector 2, but he dropped a couple of tenths on sector 1.
Lucas Auer has had a personal best through sector 1, so is Loic Duval, so is Edo Mortara, who's stone cold last at the moment. Rocky then in the longer middle sector, looks like he might improve here from 6th place. He goes across the line, and third he goes. 54 thousandths of a second away from pole position. He's all, but it's third. So Rocky building up the speed. Lucas Auer there in 16th place. Can he improve as he goes across the line? He should do, but how good will it be? No, he backs off 1.9 seconds.
Auer is dropping 0.4 of a second in the middle sector alone. He's not got anything in the middle sector of that lap, and he did so along the last lap as well. Let's see if he can actually have one more go with it.
Farfus is pushing hard at the moment in the BMW middle section. Very good. Personal best, 36.4 is a decent effort as well. And goes 8th, so that's much better. And personal best in the final 2 sectors.
Personal best in sector 1 for Paul di Resta with a 21.421. That's less than a tenth off the best first sector from René Rast. But that's the difference really between first and 10th in the moment. That's the kind of margins we're talking about. As you see Jamie Green, he's on a fast lap. He is a 0.04 up altogether with a personal best in sector 1 and an absolute best in sector 2. Now coming to the penultimate corner, Glock goes P4, just 1/10 down on the fastest man, René Rast. Will Jamie Green be able to go pole this time around?
Could do. You also got René Rast going well on that lap. He did a personal best and best overall in sector 1, but it's Green who pips him by 62 thousandths of a second. Didn't light it up in the 3rd sector, but he did enough in that middle sector to make it stick. So 122.090 seconds. René Rast down to 2nd place. 3rd at the moment is Rockefeller. Papik going well in 4th. Wittmann's come up to 3rd. So Wittmann up to third, Rockenfeller fourth now, Paffett fifth, Glock sixth, Muller seventh, Spengler going well in eighth, Martin and Farfus rounding out the top 10. Lucas Auer is last but one. He's 17th out of the 18 runners. As you see, Bruno Spengler now, the former champion, in potentially another good lap here. Personal best in sector one for him. He's in the final sector now, making his way down through the last couple of corners. And what a great onboard view this is. And you can see the undulation here. You can see how much speed these 500 brake horsepower machines carry through the corners.
Glock needs a little bit more. He's 900ths down on green overall in P6. Muller's on a fast lap as well, as is Eki, who's currently down in 12th, although Eki's dropped a little bit of pace in sector 2. Now, will Rocky be able to do it? We've got Rast coming over the line first. That's Glock just ahead of him. He's made a mistake. Oh, that's probably ruined. Has that ruined Rast's lap as well? No, he hasn't. He's gone top. Well done.
But Jamie Green's on a good lap. He's gone quicker than anybody in the first sector. Middle sector was okay.
Eki only P7.
Coming into the pits, Lucas Auer. They are really struggling. He's only 17th, and the flag is now out. Of course, the time has ticked down to 0. 1:21.955 seconds for Jamie Green. He's done it. He's got back ahead of Rene Rast. First sector and the third sector was where he made up all the time, quicker than anybody at the start and the end of the lap. So right at the end of the session, almost like yesterday, Jamie Green looks like he snatched pole position. 1:21.955 seconds for the driver second in the championship. Rene Rast second, Marco Wittmann third, Rocky fourth, Muller fifth, Paffett sixth, Glock seventh.
Blomqvist improved right at the absolute death, brings him up to 9th place, but actually drops Auer to last for this race.
Which is his worst qualifying performance of the year in his home country, going for the championship just when he didn't need that to happen. And Eki has had an okay session, 8th place in the end for the championship leader.
He would have wanted a little bit more than that, though. He may be a little bit, it's 4/10 to Jamie Green up front, who pulls another 3 points for that pole position. Rast will get 2 for starting second. Wittmann will get 1 point for his third place qualifying. But it's still a very good day for Audi. You know, P1, P2, P4 Rocky, P5 with Muller.
Is this replay of Glock into the last corner? What would have otherwise been looking like it was going to be a pretty tidy lap.
Oh.
Just hit the curb on the inside, didn't he? Went in a bit early. That immediately sends him out wide.
And Rast was lucky, actually, because Glock rejoins right in front of him. But actually, Glock,
just
complete opposite lock. But you'll see Rast will come round the corner as Glock goes diagonally across. And normally, most racing drivers might say lift off slightly when you see a car coming perpendicular across you, but not Rene Rast in that instance. But off screen, really. Green, last second again, just into the 1:21s with a 21.955.
Mega last
Fabulous lap from Jamie Green.
Yeah, well,
proving his point yet again that he is one of the quickest drivers out there.
It's even quicker than yesterday's pole. He did a 1:21.973 yesterday, so 20 odd thousandths quicker this time around. There is Jamie Green. He has had a pole all year, then he gets 2 on the trot. He was on pole yesterday, pole again for this afternoon's race. His 13th career pole position. Now what do Audi do? Because yesterday Eki was able to come past Green to take the race win. Green's up to second in the championship. Eki's 8th. What if Eki doesn't get any points in the race later on this afternoon and Green wins? There'd only be 3 points between the two of them going into the final round at Hockenheim. It's all ifs and buts, but it might provide them with a bit of a headache, this. And I'd like Eki to be a bit higher up the order, wouldn't they?
The gap is now 25 points because Green gets a 3
correct, yes, 3 points,
there.
Yeah.
So I think they'll probably play a little bit of strategy with Ekstrom. They got enough Audi drivers ahead of him. I mean, there's a BMW Glock P7, Mercedes P6 with Gary Paffett. Then another BMW in P3 with Wittmann, but the rest of the top 8 are all Audi, so I can imagine there's going to be a good bit of strategy played. And look who's P5. It's Nico Müller.
Yes, exactly.
Who's ahead of Paffett, who accused Muller of blocking him in Zandvoort, who's also ahead of Glock, who accused Muller of blocking him in...
yes, he was quite outspoken about that last time out, wasn't he? So, Green on pole position once again. It's Audi's first and second, but once again, the BMW of Marco Wittmann, he's quality, isn't he, Marco Wittmann? Absolutely flying the flag for BMW. As the best non-Audi in third place overall. Mike Rockenfeller and Nico Müller both going really quickly this weekend for 4th and 5th. They actually set exactly the same lap time, look, and it was because Rocky set that lap time first that he gets 4th on the grid, Muller 5th. Paffett, much improved in 6th place, Glock 7th, Eki 8th, Blomqvist right at the end 9th, Spengler 10th, and then you see Martin Farfus 10th, 11th and 12th, De Resta 13th, Mortara 14th, Engel 15th, Wickens disappointing down in 16th place in the Mercedes after a 4th place yesterday in the race, and he qualified 7th yesterday, so Robert only 16th, Duval 17th, and Auer stone cold last, but only just over 7/10 of a second covered the lot of them. As we see now how they're going to line up on the grid for this afternoon's race. Jamie Green on pole position once again. René Rast starts alongside.
Lining up third on the grid will be Marco Wittmann. He's got on 4th place just beside him, Mike Rockenfederer.
To complete the top 6, row 3, Nico Muller very quick this weekend. And back on form, Gary Paffett in the Mercedes.
It's another BMW P7 with Timo Glock, but championship leader Matthias Ekstrom starting from 8th.
And then we have Tom Blomqvist, much improved today, 9th, and also his brandmate BMW Bruno Spengler alongside.
Maxime Martin, he's 11th on the grid. He's got another BMW, Augusta Farfus in 12th. He'll be looking for a big result today.
Paul Di Resta starts 13th, Edo Matara 14th. That's the 7th row.
And then it's Maro Engel 15th. He's got another Mercedes alongside him, Robert Wickens, who also will be looking for a big score today. And then the last row of the grid,
Loic Duval, and worst qualifying of the year for Lucas Auer, championship contender.
What's interesting about the Lucas Auer situation, Dave, is we saw this today. Sorry, Chris, he saw this at Zandvoort where he was losing time in several sections as opposed to just dropping a lot of time in one sector. So they're going to need a bit of work there as we see the slow-mos of Marco Wittmann, René Rast. They're in 2nd place with a 1:22.0, and then it's going to be the pole man in a few moments with the Audi of Jamie Green. Pole yesterday and leading most of yesterday as well.
Absolutely, he's been absolutely mega this weekend in terms of the pace. 1:21.955, quickest lap we've seen all weekend long in the Hoffman Group backed Audi. But René Rast is right up there with him, isn't he? That was an excellent effort. And the spanner in the works in all of this, not wanting to play any kind of Audi team game. And of course, he's going to be the BMW of Marco Wittmann, who can still win the championship. 37 points down, 4th place overall for the reigning and 2-time champion, Marco Wittmann. There, René Rast smiles and slightly resigned to the fact that he just missed out on pole position.
And a little bit of a reaction there from the Audi crew. It seemed a bit disappointed. I wonder if that's when Eki came across the line to only get 8th place. There seemed a bit of a disappointment there that they were expecting him maybe to be higher up the order after he qualified 3rd yesterday as well.
Given them a bit of a headache, that, hasn't it? His time was a 1:22.337. If he could have found one more 10th of a second, he could have been 4th on the grid. But you know, you could say that about any DTM qualifying session at any track. It's always this close. But that's mighty close, isn't it? 7/10. Fantastic. So that was great qualifying. We'll see you again this afternoon for the race. Bye for now.